Here, common problem that I see with English learners that want to have an American accent, okay? Because it's not bad to have an accent, like a foreign accent, because everyone has an accent. But for English learners that want to have an American accent, I hear them say, or I see this, where they'll say, I know how to pronounce a sound, right? Maybe the teach or depending if it's voiced or voiceless. But when I'm speaking English in my daily life, maybe at work with friends, English speaking friends, my accent comes back and gets stronger. Like when I practice, I can use the American sound. But when I speak English in conversation, my accent comes back and I mispronounce that sound or I pronounce it like, my foreign language, my first language. What can help? So when it comes to this, or whenever people I'm going to say mispronounce, I'm going to put it in quotation marks because, you know, it I don't want to say you're wrong, but if you're trying to have an American accent, you might be mispronouncing it. I ask myself a few questions. One, can the student or client actually pronounce that sound as an American sound? If yes, then they already know how to. And that's when I would ask the second question um, is it just a question of them reverting back to their old ways when they're comfortable or when there are certain circumstances? If the answer is yes, then what I recommend is that you start to practice that sound daily, because that's really how you're going to undo those, I'm going to say, incorrect habits and to retrain that muscle memory so that you can have correct pronunciation, more like an American accent, if that's what you want. So, what that looks like is, 5 to 15 minutes a day, practice that sound. Practice, common words that you use with that sound at work, with your family. For example, if it's the TH sound, because that's a very common sound that people struggle with, if you keep on saying duh instead of practice the tooth, or there is the tree. There are there are three trees, three trees. There are three, right? There are three. How are, I don't know, just constantly going over the same sounds and different word combinations and different sentences over and over and over. And while you're doing these 5 to 15-minute pronunciation drills, making sure that you are putting your tongue between your teeth if it's the TH sound, or that you're properly pronouncing these words, these sounds. And by doing that, you're retraining your muscle memory so that your habits, your muscle memory, your habits and pronunciation start to become more American. So that when you go back to work or daily conversation, that your native language is influencing your English less because you've created these strong muscles, these strong habits of pronouncing, the TH, if it's the TH, with the tongue between the teeth. But yeah, just practice, practice, practice. And again, I'm going to say, if you want to learn how to accelerate your accent reduction journey and start making lasting changes with my free guide, my top 5 accent reduction tips, type top tips in the YouTube comments, and I will share with you the link on how to get my free gift. But one of the tips that I do mention in this little guide is to constantly, every day, practice that sound. Practice that sound in words, practice that sound in phrases, especially high frequency phrases, so that naturally your body just knows what to do. Naturally, your tongue knows to go between your teeth if you're, saying, the TH sound. But yeah, and something I'm going to mention as well. I work mostly, in the past, I've worked mostly with Quebecers. So these are French Canadians. And very often, instead of saying they'll say like a D, duh. Dare instead of there. Or they'll pronounce the T instead of the voiceless TH. So they'll say wit and boat instead of both and with. And what I've noticed is that in the beginning, when they are unable to say the sound, they'll say wit, boat, dis, dat. And then as they correct that sound and make it muscle memory, they'll say it correctly this, there, with, both. But what I also see happening that you need to be careful about, and what your coach can watch for and listen for is that sometimes, and very often, that they start using the TH sound where it should be a T or a D. So instead of like, I don't know, teeth, they might say teeth, teeth. Or like instead of, I'm trying to think of things I've heard recently. Truth instead of truth, right? Truth. Where they'll put the TH where the T should be. So that's something to be careful about is overcorrecting as well and like you might accidentally start inserting the correct sound, but in the wrong place. I've seen that as well. So something to listen for. I'm going to check my comments here to see if there